Today's guest is a supporting sponsor of Liberty in Finance.
Welcome back to Liberty in Finance. We're always glad to have this widely followed returning guest. Keith Neumeyer is the president and CEO of First Majestic Silver and the chairman of First Mining Gold. Keith, thanks for joining us again here on Liberty in Finance.
Well, it's great to be here in Boca Raton together with Dunnigan, and it's great to have the opportunity to follow up interview from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, our viewers follow you no matter where you go, and when we have you on our channel, they're very excited. They submit always more questions than I can ever ask you. But this time, I don't have a list of questions. It's just about what message you're bringing to those who are in the Boca Raton. This is Rick Rule's Symposium on Natural Resources Investing, and people are here to try to figure out what makes the most sense and why Rick has picked these particular companies to be the ones that he favors, the one he's done his due diligence on, and he knows the management team. In this case, his relationship with you spans decades, and you've built a proven record with him of someone that he looks to for results. And our viewers and subscribers are interested in the progress that First Majestic is making in many fronts. You're pushing back boundaries all over the place. One of the things you talked to us about last time, which is really exciting, is your own in-house mint, First Mint, and how you're doing vertical integration to, in some ways, cut out the funny business that goes on in the COMEX and so on, and give more the full picture, all under one roof, from the mine to the safes of stackers who want to get their hands on physical metal. But it's so much more than that you've got going on. And now you just mentioned First Gold Mining, and I don't think we've talked about that with you before. So can you bring our viewers, first of all, up to speed on what that is?
Sure. Well, there's lots of questions there, lots of items we can discuss, and I'd be happy to get into all of it. But, we take Rick Rule's conference quite seriously, for us to measure our success when we come to these events, because, we have 5 people here, 5 employees, so it's expensive to come here. And but, for us to see the investors and shareholders that we repeatedly see year after year is always a good thing, because, without our shareholders, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, we rely on them for their support, and of course they rely on us for doing what we're supposed to be doing, as a management team, building the business and doing our best to, create wealth for everyone involved in the business. So, going into, I'm not sure where to start, but we've got a lot. We just put a news release out on our exploration results at San Dimas about 2-3 weeks ago. Pretty nice announcement. We've got another exploration results coming out on Santa Elena in 2 or 3 weeks. So, I would urge people to go look at that. Our first mint, of course, that's something that we launched, started construction about a year ago. And it was basically out of frustration because, we've been selling silver to the retail environment for about, since 2008. And, it was started off small, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden we started getting restricted by the mints, and they just refused to give us the product that we wanted to get from them. And it became quite frustrating. And we kept hitting this wall with them. And, my CFO, my finance team was looking at the inventory sitting on the floor of these mints saying, what's going on? We got millions of dollars worth of silver sitting on the floor of these mints, and months are going by and we're not getting any product from them. And, I don't exactly even today know why they held on to our silver the way they did, but I decided pulled the plug on the whole thing and said, look, let's just build our own mint. So we found a facility in Las Vegas. We thought Vegas was a good place to be because it's a growing community and, good large workforce and, good regulations and, protective, for businesses, good international airport and so on. So, so we just had the same time zone as our head office in Vancouver. So we just, might as well just do it in Vegas. And it's turned out quite good. So we've got a great team there. And we're producing product, and we're selling it here at the Rick Rule conference today.
I saw it at your booth. It was very. They got they got 10-ounce bars, 5-ounce bars, and some rounds as well. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, the rounds aren't made by us yet. That'll be converted. The machines just arrived through, I guess, 3 weeks ago. The city, we needed a permit from the city to install the machines, which is pretty surprising. But we just got the permit 2 days ago. Okay. So they will be installed. They'll be up and running by the end of August, early September. And so we're looking forward just to put as much as our silver through that mint as possible.
I was talking to your staff at the table the first day of the show when everybody's just still setting up about why you're so wildly popular with our audience. And when you talked about how it's the contributions of the team that makes it happen, that's what happens on our show as well. It's the execution of delivering quality guests, and then our subscribers spread the word by word of mouth. But the reason that you end up being so popular with them, among others, is that they see you as someone who's like them, who's like a real person, who's got their feet on the ground, and who's trying to do the right thing for the ordinary person, and to bring basically truth and honesty into this industry, and cutting out sort of these artificial barriers where they seem to occur. So anyway, putting silver, getting it out, finding it where it is, getting it out of the ground, and getting it in the hands of where it can be useful to humanity, and leaving the communities where you do that better than you found them. Is something you've talked with us about before.
Yeah, that's why I'm so proud about being in the mining sector, because the mining sector is probably the most influential sector in the world when it comes to community development. If you're a Levi's manufacturer, and I don't want to knock Levi's, it's probably not a fair thing to do because I'm sure they do a lot of good work. But if you're a governor of a state, in Mexico, and you're looking to bring a manufacturing facility into your state or your region to create employment, and Levi's happens to be the company that is wanting to, make jeans in that community or that area, the government will go out of their way to make sure that manufacturing plant gets built. They'll help them through tax credits. They'll even allow or even build the electrical infrastructure for them. They'll build roadways for them. They'll do whatever they can, to get that facility, whatever the company may be, to open up a plant in their state. And but yet mining, we go through, and I looked at Phil Baker's presentation yesterday, which was quite interesting. And he threw a slide up and said it was average 17.9 years for a mine to be permitted, for a mine to go through discovery all the way to production. And, I know for firsthand, because I'm the chairman of First Mining Gold, and we're trying to permit a gold mine in Ontario, and we're 8 years in. And then we spend about $20 million a year on permitting. We have 50 odd caribou with collars on them that we track by GPS just to see where the heck they are, and then how they're transporting themselves around. So because we need to know where to build the roads, and we don't want to interfere with their
migration paths.
Exactly. And then we have native Indians in the lakes fishing for fish and doing scale analysis of all these fish, and making sure that there's no endangered species that we might impact, and it's very expensive. And then we got to go through this whole process, and we're probably not going to get a permit for another couple of years. So, at a rate of, let's call it 10 years, at $20 million a year, that's $200 million just to wait for the government to permit an asset or a mine. And it's a long game. It's tough. And we have to go through that.
It's with respect to all stakeholders there, it's understandable that due diligence and intentional caution is warranted in cases where there may be irreparable harm done if it's done wrong. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, that has to be balanced out against the fact that everything that we use in our world is either mined or grown. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. Right. So it isn't an option to say we're just not going to mine anything. It's just like saying we're not going to farm anything. It's like, well, that's just the end.
Right.
So
that's depopulation talk. And,
it's necessary.
We don't want to go down that path.
Right. So it's necessary to do that hard work of trying to find things that doing things in the right way. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like what you've talked about in the past is First Majestic is fully engaged in trying to find the right way to do things and doing it. Mm-hmm. So,
and we need these metals, and the governments keep pushing, the world, and not so much the mining sector, but they're just pushing these agenda items, green technology, and going, reducing fossil fuels, and increasing the use of other technologies to, create a better world for us, and which is I'm not against it in any way, but at the same time, they need to support the mining sector. It's got to be a joint venture between the mining sector and the governments, because, we are on government land in most cases. So we need their assistance. We need their help. We need their support. But yet, for whatever reason, they look at the mining sector as this dirty industry that somehow, is harming the planet, or so, like, how do you say, oh, let's go green, and then, oh, let's not do mining? It just doesn't work, right? We need zinc, we need copper, we need silver, we need these metals to get into these technologies to, improve the planet.
And that's where First Majestic is a leader in the industry. And any specific areas that you're working in right now that people should keep an eye on for additional progress reports expected in the next quarter or so would be great for our viewers to be aware of. What things are you focusing on right now that are going to be game changers for First Majestic and for your shareholders?
Well, it's a very broad question, and I could probably spend half an hour answering that question. But
you got 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. I'm a big believer in technology, and if you go, we just had a site tour of our Santa Elena operation, and when we first bought that asset back in 2015, the recoveries there for metal was 60-65%, and today it's pushing 90%, and that's just technology alone. And it's much cleaner. It's running on LNG, so the environmental footprint is extremely low. Our ESG score has gone from the mid 50s, which is kind of normal for the mining sector, because the mining sector does a very poor job in promoting itself. I don't know why that is. Mining executives seem to hide, and then they don't want to come out and talk about all the wonderful things they're doing for whatever reason. But our ESG score is now in the high 30s. I think 37 or 38. We're looking even to get it further down. We've got 2 mines that are running on LNG, and one of our mines actually is 50% of the power is hydro, and the other 50% is diesel. We're trying to replace that 50% of diesel with LNG over the next couple of years. I think shareholders should look at that advancement, because we're pushing it hard, to replace the diesel there. And but just we've gone through mining is a tough business. And there's never everything going right. It's just impossible, because you're dealing with Mother Nature. So there's always going to be an issue. We had a water well implode on ourselves last June at La Encantada. So the production dropped by 30% and costs go up, of course, as a result, immediately. If you're producing less ounces on a cost per ounce basis, your costs go up. Pretty standard. San Dimas, where we're leaving one vein structure and we're now going into a new vein structure. That takes months and months and months of tunnels construction, building, to get that whole new mine area reopened and move all the crews over, to a new mine area. That's now finally happening. So, we've gone through 3 or 4 pretty tough quarters with those 2 mines having some challenges. Thank goodness Santa Elena, our second largest mine, is just like screaming. It's absolutely fantastic. So it's kind of like pulling the rest of the mines
carrying
along.
the weight, yeah.
Yeah. But La Encantada now we're back up to normal throughput. So it'll be another month or 2 before it's back into the profit. San Dimas is now, looks like it's going to start, has already improved this last month. So we're looking to end 2024 on a pretty positive note.
The investors have been watching in the bullion market the price of gold and silver increasing significantly over the past couple of quarters. What does that do? How does that impact First Majestic on a go-forward basis with your quarterly results? I know you can't speak specifically about results that haven't been announced, but in general, how do these economics, what kind of a time lag is there between current spot metals prices, how long they'll sustain versus where it usually shows up reflecting in corporate earnings?
It is quite substantial. For every $1 move in silver, it represents, about $20 million on the bottom line. assuming our costs don't go up. Right? So that's if we're at flat costs. Unfortunately, what happens in the mining sector, we experienced this back in 2010, 2011, where everyone gets greedy and they see the metal prices start to skyrocket. 50 goes, or silver goes to $50. Gold went to almost 1900, and then all your contractors and all the inputs start to increase. The cyanide manufacturers start to jack up cyanide prices and so on and so forth. We haven't seen that yet. We had some inflation that has been there over the last couple of years, which happened worldwide as a result of COVID. And we have seen labor costs go up as well over the last couple of years. The peso has gone against us. 2 years ago, the peso was 21 to 1. It's now 17 and a bit to 1. So that's a big move because, 85% of our costs are pesos. So, we're constantly trying to, work on driving costs down. But at, $31 silver, it's not a bad place to be. So, it's nice. I just mentioned yesterday during an interview that, over our lifetimes, we've only seen silver north of $30 3 times. Right. So the first time in the 80s, or I guess in 1980, it was apparent. And I wasn't watching the silver market in 1980, but despite the fact I was alive, but I've heard that it was only a 1 or 2 day event, so it was very, very short lived. The move to 30 in 2011 lasted a good period of time. So in 2011, 2012, silver was north of 30 that entire 2-year period. So that was a nice period. We did quite well then, and then we had the Reddit squeeze, in 2021, which was also short lived. So it's really encouraging to me to we're in June, July, which is always the quietest period for the metals. If you go back and look at a 30-year chart, generally speaking, June is this low period for metals, particularly silver. And we didn't still see silver correct to any great degree. We're still
found
seeing
support. Yeah.
Yeah. It corrected a little bit. It got, rallied to 32.5 and got down to 28. Then it's recovered back through 30 and it's now hanging around 31. I'm super encouraged. I think that we're going to see 35 by the end of the year. Who knows, gold, probably north of 2,400. But, these are good metal prices for us and for the mining sector as a whole. Now what, your comment or your question about how does that impact us? Well, we have to be conservative. We can't go crazy. Like, we can be a little bit more comfortable, because normally what happens if you go back the last 10 years, we do budgets, call it, at $25 an ounce. And next thing you know, silver's $21 an ounce. Then all of a sudden we have to start laying people off. We have to start, reducing exploration programs, and cutting the business back, just to, meet our cash flow requirements to keep the business, going. Right. And, now we're in quite a different position, which is, pretty nice to see. So we're now getting, in a place where, hey, look, the treasury's growing, profits are coming in, we could maybe, be a little bit more aggressive in 2025. We've just started the 2025 budgeting cycle, and we're likely going to start expanding some of our programs in 2025, because I think we're at the beginning of a new bull market.
Yeah, there's also a lag in investor sentiment. Investor sentiment over the last year in mining companies has been near or at an all-time low. So Rick Rule has educated our audience and me over the last decade to be thinking like contrarians and to be seeing value before the herd corroborates and confirms your hunch that this is the time to make a move. So it's never too late at this point to get in on. That value still is there. Yeah,
for sure, and that's a dead on point. And because we've not seen this move in metal show up in the equities yet. The stocks have been flat. You look at GDX or GDXJ over the last 5 years and compare it to, put a chart of gold or silver up along that same pattern and see the divergence that's occurred. It's like, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And that's rare. The extent of the amount to which metals have moved since like a low around December of 2015 to now is really remarkable. If you compare it with the mining company averages. And then Rick never looks at average companies. He looks at special companies that he has really done his diligence on. And that's why we're talking to you, because you're not average and your company's not average. And our viewers appreciate your visits with us. And if they want to find out more about First Majestic Silver, the best way they should proceed?
Well, obviously the website, just firstmajestic.com. We have Twitter feeds. We've got social media. We've got a large IR team in Vancouver that is available anytime. Just call the 1-800 number if you have any questions. Get onto our email list. Just go into info@firstmajestic.com and sign up, and you'll get all the latest information. If you're a little bit on the more crazier side, you could follow me on Twitter. Keith _Neumeyer. I put some interesting stuff out there every once in a while, and I tend to be a little bit on the right wing side, but nevertheless, I do send some interesting stuff out.
Well, Keith, we're always grateful for your presence here on Liberty and Finance. We'd like to keep your story coming to our subscribers and viewers. People, make sure you share this widely with those whom you know that might be interested in an opportunity at a time when most people aren't even looking at this sector. Is a time, as Rick Rule reminds us, to take action while you're still a contrarian, and before it becomes obvious to most. That's when the biggest gains are made. So we want to support First Majestic Silver because you're standing up for the common person and making things available, and it really builds a lot of credibility with our viewers when they see that kind of consistent action that's on the behalf of real people and the communities in which you're operating as well. So thank you, Keith, for joining us.
Yeah, and what differentiates me, I think, with a lot of the other money executives is that I'm not a geologist, I'm not an engineer, and I don't say that unkindly, because I employ a lot of engineers and a lot of geologists, and we need them as part of our business to do the necessary day-to-day stuff, that they do. And I quite respect, all of them, and for doing the day-to-day jobs. It's hard work. It's going underground and doing the work they're doing is really tough work. But for me as the visionary, I'm a finance guy, and that's where my head's at, and I try to conceptualize profit in every move that we make. And then we don't always make 100% moves. We do, of course, we make mistakes like everybody else, but I'm all in, and my share position has never gone backwards. Since every year it generally goes up, and I'm the largest single shareholder, or private shareholder, non-institutional shareholder, but largest single private shareholder of the company, and it's going to stay that way.
Well, folks, if we want to do what Keith does, we know what to do. So thanks, Keith, for being on Liberty and Finance.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.